Why is my marketing strategy failing? Can a full stack marketer help?
He can. But we need to define what a full stack marketer is in the first place. And that is a concept that's possibly not going to be able to fit into the confines of one episode. So we've actually planned 4 completely dedicated episodes to this topic. Right now we're getting into 2, and that includes this episode and the next one. And I've focused these 2 episodes on companies that are working in established markets. So they've got marketing strategy that's already at play. They've got teams dedicated to it. They're in the market selling product. How can you identify the changes that you need to make to the system to make that marketing strategy that you think is not working for you work for you?
So who in these companies should be watching today's podcast?
Well, if you identify with the predicament of getting dragged into meetings where you have a bunch of people in your sales team, a bunch of people in your marketing team, a whole bunch of creative people walking in from outside your company, just throwing ideas at you, and then putting you in the position to say, you've got to decide on which ones of these to implement, and you say, hey, this is not my job, well, then you're going to love this show. What we're going to give you is 6 key insights into how to deal with this barrage of information that's flowing at you, to make sense of it, and to figure out which one to invest in and tell them apart. Being able to tell the ones that have good ROI capability apart from the ones that have bad ROI capability. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about on this show, and we're going to talk about on this show, is obviously full stack.
Correct.
We're going to tell you what full stack is, why it can change your marketing strategy and the whole world around your marketing sphere within your company. We're also going to tell you where you can find full stack marketers.
That's interesting.
It is. Let's start the show.
When you think that something as intangible as design and communications can't really affect your bottom line,
you usually end up with marketing and advertising tools that don't help you inherently mitigate your business risk.
that's what this podcast is about.
A behind-the-scenes look at how we go about doing what we do, mitigating business risk. I'm Jude Lazaro.
And I'm Mark Lazaro. And you are watching our weekly video podcast.
Okay, that was a lot to compute, but before we can move on, what is a full stack marketer?
That is actually the first thing I want to talk about. But to understand what a full stack marketer is, we need to remove the word marketer from this equation and understand full stack. And I've found a parallel in a slightly different industry. So it has nothing to do with marketing, but it has something to do with something that all of us would love, and that's movies. So what I've done is I've gone and found the list of the highest grossing Hollywood directors on the planet. So these are the top 10 guys. And all the way on top, you've got Steven Spielberg with $9.2 something billion worth of box office. So that's what his movies have made over time. And the list goes on. So there's Peter Jackson, James Cameron, Chris Nolan, Tim Burton, all of these guys. And I want to be able to give you a sense of full stack as a concept by understanding what they do. If you look at a movie director, his job is, it starts well before anyone's been hired. He's possibly, there on day one. He's got to find a story, write a screenplay, work with the studio to get funding, cast a bunch of actors, hire a camera crew, hire the studios, get makeup, costume, location, sets, all these things together, get this movie shot. Once that's done, once the production run is done, send all those people home, move on to a completely different set of people who come in to edit the film, score the music for it, do the visual effects, put that movie together. And then, of course, he has to obviously deal with the last bit as well, which is the marketing aspect of it and the promotion of the movie. So this one guy is a decision taker, and he interacts with all of these people and all of these departments.
The entire gamut.
Yeah. His mental capability is full stack. Now, I've chosen one guy who I particularly love, and he's obviously on the list at number 6, Christopher Nolan. The reason that I've actually chosen Nolan is because he's actually a very new entrant to this list, and he's already at position 6 with 4.2 billion. Spielberg and Peter Jackson have had way more time than him. But the other reason is this one interview with him after he finished Interstellar, where he doesn't talk about any of his movies, but it's kind of like a BBC interview where he sits for about 25 minutes and has this beautiful conversation about just being who he is and being a director. And there's a little excerpt I want to play for you, which will exemplify the aspect of what a director has to do and this full stack mental capability that he needs to be him. So let me play that for you.
They're all different. They all have a different process. And my job as a director is to find what they need from me and accommodate that and get the most out of them. And I pride myself on being able to do that.
How do you do the job? Because there's so much to juggle, isn't there? There's the budget, the weather, the locations, the prima donna who won't come out of the Winnebago, let's say, the schedule, the release date.
How do I do? I mean,
do you sleep at night when you're in the middle of these things?
you sleep just because you're exhausted, from pure exhaustion. I enjoy the multifaceted nature of the challenge. I enjoy having to be an expert on a lot of different things, or having to pretend to be an expert on a lot of different things. One of the things I love about directing is you don't specialize. You have to be able to really think of all the different aspects of the film at the same time. It's also important to surround yourself with collaborators who can take the pressure off certain aspects of it, and casting's a huge part of that. Finding actors. Some of the great actors I've worked with on the Dark Knight trilogy, for example, who, they would recognize that, yes, we're also having to worry about flipping this truck or blowing this building up, whatever. And so their process would be balanced against that. And working with very generous performers was a big part of that. So I really do enjoy the challenge of putting together a lot of different aspects of one project and trying to be in control of that. I mean, it's a really fun thing.
So the concept here is not to focus on him being a movie director.
Correct.
The idea is to focus on the fact that he's full stack and his day-to-day job is full stack. Now let's move back to defining what a full stack marketer is. Here's what I've done. I've actually created a scale, and because we're talking about a mental capability, I've divided that scale into what I think are left brain technical skills and right brain creative skills. And this is that scale for a marketer, the full stack scale for a marketer. So let's start all the way on the left. You've got coding and logic, and I do mean computer code, data analysis, research, post-production and production, media strategy, media budgeting, sales, and everything that goes with dealing with the sales team and building a sales process, behavioral psychology, copywriting, and storytelling. This is a loose representation of the full stack capability that one needs, both on the left brain side and on the right brain side. If you take this analogy and bring it back to companies, they definitely have all of these different specialities, left brain or right brain, split up into departments. But they usually don't have someone that has the unification knowledge to fire both sides at the same time and give you normal functionality.
Okay, but just to clarify, you're not talking about a superhuman who's specialized in each and every field here. You're talking about somebody who possibly has a bias to technical or creative, but has domain knowledge across the board.
If he has not worked in all of these spheres and integrated them at some point, he's not going to be able to take good decisions.
Okay. So he's had some practical implementation experience in these fields.
Exactly. So full stack is not something unique to marketing. As a matter of fact, full stack marketer is a borrowed concept. It is possibly only as old as 2013, and it's now doing, the rounds in the startup world, and it's a rage. Full stack. Full stack came from full stack developer. Full stack marketer, it's a new word, it's a new term for a very old skill set. It's a really old concept. This is a generalist. And the reason that I've gone heavy on trying to explain full stack is because if you look historically into all of the companies that we've worked with, one of the things that I've found is that most times the person taking a decision on a marketing strategy and tactical decisions within companies, hopefully it's not the frustrated CEO or CFO or COO, who's saying this is not my job. And even if it is a dedicated guy, they usually are kind of promoted up the ranks from having done one of these things well. Most likely it's in sales. So you find someone who's had sales experience just pushed up there. And most often, the education that backs a salesperson is more likely to be in the business side of things rather than this sort of a broad spectrum. And he's obviously built his core knowledge up in the sales space by sheer grit. Now, don't get me wrong here, but for a company to have a decision taker either say this is not my job, or to have a decision taker that does not have knowledge across this spectrum, it's dangerous. It has to be remedied, right?
Okay, so that was a pretty deep dive into the word full stack. But let's get started with the insights.
Right, so the meat of these two episodes are the 6 key insights we're going to give away. So let's start with the show title. It says, why is my marketing strategy failing? Now the word strategy is borrowed from war, and it's followed or should be accompanied by the word tactic, because you don't win a war with a strategy alone. You win it by deploying and testing the right tactics. So how do you go about finding the right tactics to support your marketing strategy? That's where full stack comes in. If you don't have this broad spectrum visibility, you're not going to be able to discern which idea that came to that table, or which of the dozens of ideas that came to that table are the ones that could potentially be a breakthrough opportunity. And that's the first insight. Find your breakthrough opportunities. Let me give you an example. YouTube was first founded in about, I think, 2004, 2005. In 2006, Google bought it. But it did not understand how to monetize that platform until about 2008, when it first took the chance on putting a video ad that you can play before any of YouTube's users watch the video that they intended to watch.
The in-stream ad, yeah.
The in-stream ad. But it took them till about 2010 to realize that they had to put a skip option on that. And then that platform took off. That particular monetization platform for YouTube just soared, because now YouTube was TV with a skippable ad. Right? And if someone came to you back in 2010, 2011, 2012 and said, YouTube skippable video ads, that's where we should be. How do you determine if that suggestion was worth taking seriously? You first identify if it's an opportunity. You do your research and ask people, what is this new thing that I'm supposed to be doing? Find out everything you can about it. But only if you decide to implement it would you have made it your breakthrough tactic.
Correct. So opportunity versus a tactic.
Opportunity versus a tactic. A tactic is something you're deploying. And you need to be very careful when you convert an opportunity into a tactic to make sure that you've made the right decision. How do you do this? Insight 2. Breakthrough tactics are like equations. So where does a breakthrough tactic start? It starts obviously as a breakthrough opportunity. Here's what you do. You build an equation. You say, for that breakthrough opportunity to happen, here are the changes that I will need to effect within other spheres of the marketing funnel, or other spheres of the advertising funnel, or other spheres of my entire company. So for instance, for breakthrough opportunity to happen, I'm going to have to change my sales process. I'm going to have to get a brand new media budget, or rethink the way I think about a media budget. I'm possibly going to need, say, new advertising assets. And only if I can quantify and agree to these changes, should I even bother to take that breakthrough opportunity and say, it's now my breakthrough tactic.
Correct. You can't do this without that being in place.
Exactly. This support is required. Coming back to full stack, you won't know that all these changes are required unless you have full stack knowledge. Make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So a breakthrough tactic is like an equation. If you've not balanced it, don't implement it. Roll back to the guy who ran through the door and said, YouTube skippable video ads, we have to use it. Let's look at an example. In 2011, 2012, when we were working with Goyal, we noticed that this company seated in the middle of the entire real estate industry in South India, had an opportunity if it could take what most of them knew as advertising, which was print ads, and say, hang on, let them all do print, we'll do YouTube video ads.
Yeah.
That was a breakthrough opportunity. And then we converted it into a tactic. We had to adjust a couple of things in this side of the equation. We had to change the way they looked at ROI. We need to change the way they structured their media budget.
Yeah.
And the biggest change we had to make was for them to understand that the cost of making a print ad asset was completely different from the cost of making a video ad asset. But the benefit would be massive, because what we had balanced out was that print media was expensive and print assets were cheap.
Yeah.
We reversed this whole thing around and said, hey, hang on. Yes, it does cost a little more to make films, but the media on the YouTube side is cheaper.
Correct.
It makes sense. We know how to balance the equation. We can supply you with the new film assets that you need. We've already explained to you that this is the value proposition, and boom, no one else is doing it. Make this a breakthrough tactic.
That's a good example.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
The next insight I want to hand out is the fact that breakthrough tactics have a limited life cycle. Most often you'll find that the breakthrough opportunities that you decided to convert into tactics are normally greenfield. No one else is doing them. That's the beauty of a breakthrough. So here's what happens. If you look at the life cycle of a breakthrough tactic, as soon as you start implementing it, someone else gets to know about it. And that someone else is the entire competitive market out there. And the one negative to this competitive market is that you'll find that the plurality of them run their marketing strategy and choose their breakthrough tactics, right, on the basis of herd mentality. They're going to steal your breakthrough tactic away from you, whether you like it or not, because it's public domain now.
Correct.
And in due course, that breakthrough tactic is going to become a trend. And a trend is a bad thing. So there's a delicate balance between a breakthrough tactic and a trend. And here's how you can spot a trend. Initially, a breakthrough tactic will bring you a valuable differentiation within this market, and it most often comes at a lower cost.
So better ROI.
Better ROI. You can detect that something is a trend when it becomes cost of business.
Come up with more breakthrough tactics.
Yeah, it's because now the whole market has taken something that was unique and flooded that particular sector with that trend. To enter in, you have to pay money. You didn't have to before that. All right, that brings us to the end of this episode. And the key takeaways here are understanding that influx of suggestions that you're getting are just a whole bunch of breakthrough opportunities, and you need full stack capability or you need a full stack marketer to be able to decipher which one of those opportunities are worth using and converting into a tactic. You need to balance that equation, because an opportunity can be wasted if you don't know how it changes the rest of the system. And when you do that successfully, get ready for your competition to swoop in and steal that tactic from you and convert it into a trend. Trends are bad. You need to avoid trends. You need to shut down trends by putting new tactics in place. Is that making sense?
It's pretty cool. So that's it. 3 insights down, 3 to go. And we're going to cover those in next week's episode, where we're going to talk about the other 3 insights that are going to help you with this entire conundrum, as well as the most important part, tell you where you can find a full stack marketer. So don't forget to subscribe, like us, so that you can be informed when the next episode goes up. And like we always say, please comment, give us feedback, tell us what you think. If you have any doubts, any insights of your own that you'd like to add to the table, we'd love to start a conversation.
See you next time.